Welcome to another live episode of the Eric Crocker Show. I'm your host, former NFL and AFL defensive back. And of course, on Monday, I am joined by Ashley Ariana. Ashley, how you doing? I'd assume a lot better after San Francisco 49ers victory.
So much better. It's kind of silly. Like I feel like I try to be above it and be like, "Oh, this doesn't affect me that much." It totally does. I'm smiling all morning, all yesterday after the game. I was in a great mood. I feel like it's just so fun, especially a win like that where there's so much effort and you can tell how much heart the team had in it. It's impossible not to, go through the day feeling good
Yeah, so
and
we're
to
going to
feel
get
like
to
they're
all the
back,
specifics. We're going to get to all the specifics of the game in the short. You got about 30 minutes here before I have to get into some studying. I feel like a college kid having to study again. All right, but first, we want to let you know that this show is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Download the app or go to underdogfantasy.com. Use promo code Crocky. They will double your deposit up to $100. And I don't know if y'all saw it, but I actually have my own Crocky special on Underdog Fantasy. The only people that were able to see it were people that signed up with the promo code Crocky, which, according to my numbers that I could see, there's over 1,000 of you that have. All right, so there were a lot of people that had the opportunity to kind of come up on that. It was Debo Samuel, zero point 0.5 yards, and I saw a lot of people total yards, zero point 0.5 total yards. I saw a lot of people utilize it, and good stuff. So go to Underdog Fantasy. I had a big day yesterday. I think I made, I don't know, $1,000, something like that, $800 on Underdog Fantasy. So go to Underdog Fantasy, follow my picks. I don't win every pick, I don't win every play, but I definitely win a decent amount, and I continue to play. So I have a lot of fun with it. Makes every game fun. Last night I was laying in bed with my wife. I'm watching the Raiders and Chargers, and she's like, "Why are you watching this game?" And I said, Underdog Fantasy, baby.
good.
Underdog Fantasy. All right. So download the app or go to Underdog Fantasy and use promo code Crocky. Let's go. All right, let's get into the chat. I see everybody feeling good. The comments flowing in. We got Red, Jet, Shell in here. Let's go. Good morning. Niners are back because they never left. Identity reclaim win. You know what? We're gonna have to get back to. I'm actually gonna start this because I got something to say to this. So we are going to get back to that right there. All right. We got Griffin in the chat. He's feeling good. All right. We got Big Dez. What up, coach, in the chat? We got Bree Marie, usual suspects in here. Jay and my brother from another, Abel, Sam Sag, Westwood Elementary, Northside, Stockton, all that. What up, Abel? Yes, sir. All right. All right. That's my bro right there. So the losing streak is over. But I want to start with this. All right. The Niners, the Niners are back because they never left identity reclaiming the win. Someone on Twitter, and I'd have to find this tweet. Maybe if I find this real quick, let's type in Eric Crocker relax. Let's see. A lot of people trying to figure out, well, why are the 49ers losing? Like, what is the issue? Why is this going on? Why is that? And I'm like, guys, I think the problem is, and I got it right here. Here we go. Let's pull this up. Present, share screen, Twitter or X, bam, right here. So you guys could probably all see this right here. He's he's responding to this. All right. I said I've been listening in on everything folks are saying about the 49ers defense, and I think people can't figure out what's going on. Scheme, players, etc. I've heard everything from they don't play man to they and I said they sure did against Dallas. And then I also said they don't play enough zone, they don't blitz enough. All right. I said I've heard they don't make adjustments. Sure, then the second half versus Rams, using them specifically because I remember that standing out. All right, but I basically was saying everybody keeps talking about all these different things. So shout out to my guy Zach, and he says, "What do you think the problem is?" And I said, "I think the problem is folks need to relax. Folks need to relax. This is a good football team. They went through a rut. They weren't playing good for a couple of weeks defensively. We saw that. We felt that, right? But it's like this is not the time to have to shake everything up. This is not the time to have to throw whatever at the wall and see if it sticks, right? This is a time to reclaim your identity. And the 49ers, and again, I think there should be a kind of a little bit of a changing of the guard with the identity, because one thing is really standing out to me. You look at the Super Bowl wins for the 49ers, or you go back and you look at some of these great defenses. 94, last time 49ers won the Super Bowl. They also had a great offense. And when I look at this defense at this time, it's not as great as 2019, 2021, etc. But if you can have an offense that complements and when they're not playing well, score enough to win, that would help the 49ers. So again, I want to start with this because I really loved what she said. And she was like, we never left and reclaiming our identity. And I think I really like that because when watching the game, I was like, this looks like the 49ers from the first 5 weeks. What were your thoughts?
I agree. It definitely seemed, I like the identity reclaiming win because I felt like the 49ers weren't playing up to their standard. And I think that that's why a lot of folks had criticism for the defense, is specifically on the defensive side of the ball under the Kyle Shanahan regime. We've felt this like energy and presence and physical assertion that for whatever reason felt like was lacking. Maybe that was they needed a bye week, they needed some rest, they were injured, something like that. But this and Fred Warner even addressed it in his post-game interview. He said that it was a mental, Steve Wilks didn't make that many changes when people asked, okay, why did you guys perform so much better today? He said it was a mindset shift, and they came in knowing that they had to go all out in order and knowing the importance of this game. Now that does kind of concern me because I feel like you need to have that mindset every game, but I was glad that they at least got back to it and seemed to make that a huge focus of their offseason. I mean, not of their offseason, of their bye week.
How big of a deal did you make out of Wilkes being on the sideline and then the defense
You don't
having
think that
this
changed
kind of
everything?
performance? Hmm?
It obviously that's the reason that Bosa got a sack. It wasn't Chase Young. It wasn't the shift of Ambry Thomas for Isaiah Oliver, which all of us were totally expecting. I don't think any of those adjustments are what made the players perform better. I think it was Steve Wilks on the sideline. Did you love when the camera would shoot over to him and he would trying to be in his own little space and take notes on the sideline, he was trying to recreate the booth atmosphere. He was it was so sad seeing him. I was like, this is why he wants to be on the booth, because he's trying to engage in his play calls. It was kind of adorable. But no, I will
Yeah.
say in that the Ambry Thomas one, he was out there celebrating. That was nice for all the people that wanted him to be rah-rah. He got up for that one. He was like, all right, this kid.
I
I
don't
feel like
think
we
he'll
all were a
ever
little bit.
I don't think he'll ever be as demonstrative as Salah or D'Amico Ryans. Those guys are just, you just see the veins bulging, they're so turned up. I don't know if they take pre-workout before the games or whatever, but they're ready to go. They're pumped up.
Maybe
But
doesn't Robert Saleh run the MetLife Stadium stairs? Maybe he just takes pre-workout before and it lasts.
he
4
actually
hours.
does that. Well, he did that with the 49ers as well. He would run the bleachers and everything like that. Good shit. First of all, Robert Saleh, he has a beard now. When he was with the 49ers, he didn't
Does
have
he
this
diet?
beard.
Does he diet?
It's way too dark. That's why I'm like, this beard, solid. It doesn't look natural.
He has
Does he
7
use just
kids
for
and
men?
Zach Wilson as his quarterback. There's no way there's not some gray hairs on that thing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, he definitely dyes that beard. But enough of Robert Saleh. He's doing a terrific job over there. Almost squeaked out a win last night against the Las Vegas Raiders. Shout out to Coach Antonio Pierce. Watching him, former NFL linebacker, in a way that he's kind of picked up a Raider team. Bench Jimmy Garoppolo. They're on a 2-0 streak right now. So kudos to him trying to turn things around there. But another team that is turning things around again, 49ers. And I felt like it just was what it was. For 2 weeks, they didn't play well on really either side of the ball, but definitely not on the defensive side of the ball. And I felt like, hey, man, when your defense isn't playing well, can your offense help you out? And to me, but it was really just 2 weeks. The biggest thing that I have to take away from those 2 weeks, right? It wasn't scrap everything. It wasn't you have to change everything. Awesome job bringing in Chase Young, et cetera, to help you down the stretch. But if things are not going great, can your offense carry the team? And I still don't have the answer to that because I feel like to win a Super Bowl, that's what we're going to need.
Yeah.
I don't see the 49ers just going to Philadelphia and be like, oh, yeah, we're just going to stop them, and just force all these takeaways like we just did Trevor Lawrence. Maybe that happens. I don't know if you can count on that. So if you can't, then what does that look like? And I felt like, maybe they're not the best team in the NFC because of the last 2 weeks, but them getting back to what they are now, like what we saw yesterday, that wasn't something that was surprising to me. It's like, yeah, like I didn't know what the game would look like. The Jacksonville Jaguars, a team that was hot, a team that was five and what they won 5 straight games and went into a bye week. And to come in there on a home game, 49ers playing on the road, 10 a.m. and stomp you out like that, I think that says really more about Jacksonville not being ready for the caliber of team that the 49ers is than it actually does about the 49ers, who I kind of expect them to have those type of victories.
I do wonder about that when it comes to, because I think the adjustment of Ambry Thomas for Oliver is interesting, but I do wonder when it comes to like the AFC teams who maybe don't know the 49ers very well, they didn't really test him that much, and I wonder if like against a team like the Eagles they'll kind of go after Thomas a little bit more, and I wonder how that adjustment holds up long term because it did really well for this week. Obviously, I mean, he made like a couple mistakes, but for the most part, he held his own and made some good plays. But I do wonder if he's being targeted more if he ends up giving more plays, or if that holds to be a good correction. Do you think that the secondary playing more like man cut more press man and not so far off that allowed the defensive line to kind of take over? Because I feel like the difference in today's game or yesterday's game compared to the last 2 weeks was the success that the defensive line has. Do you think that that was like purely a Chase Young thing? Do you think that was Bosa figured something out? Why do you think that they were able to like actually finish instead of just and the pressure that they created? And maybe this is bad on Trevor Lawrence or bad on the Jags O line. Like I don't know if you give more credit to the 49ers defense making a positive adjustment or the Jags maybe not being as good as we thought they were. But like even before when they like everyone was saying, oh, they're leading the league in pressures. But my thing was I didn't feel like those pressures mattered as much because they weren't impacting the throws. Like I don't care if Kirk Cousins has pressure in his face, if he's still able to get a first down and complete the throw. Same thing with Joe Burrow. He was under a ton of pressure all game. He broke a completion percentage record because he was making so many passes or completing so many passes in a row. So I felt like the biggest change this game was when they didn't get home, the pressure did impact the throw and caused a negative throw or an incompletion or an interception. And then on the other times when they were getting home, they were literally sacking him. So I just felt like in the trenches on honestly both sides of the ball, like we can talk later about the impact of Trent Williams. It's funny when a backup comes in and does kind of well, you can be like, oh, like yeah, they're not doing terrible, and then you like compare it to how good Trent is, and you're like, that's a major difference. So I do think on both sides of the ball in the trenches is where the 49ers won it, but I'm wondering why you think why do you think the D line was finally able to find that success?
Nick Bosa. Like that was it. Nick Bosa has been good throughout this year, right? Like he's been leading the league in quarterback hits. He's up there near the top, if not at the top, in quarterback pressures. But my thing was you need your superstar to make the play, right? Like not, pressure him and then the quarterback throws in and still completes it. But it's like, well, you got pressure, knocked him down, right? Like where are the impact game changing plays? And there's a big crowd of people that say, oh, pressure is greater than sacks, right? But in my opinion, yeah, because it's more consistent, but you need those sacks to really help either put a team behind the sticks or
You
have
were
that
saying that
game-changing play where it's potentially a fumble. And that's exactly what happened in this game. I think defensively, like that was the biggest difference. That you got to the quarterback, you got home, you got the sacks, you forced the fumble, you forced the errant throws that ended up getting intercepted. Like that came from hitting and sacking the quarterback over and over and over, 5 times? You look at the Bengals game and Joe Burrow, they had opportunities. Nick Bosa too. I mean, there was a play where Nick Bosa had Joe Burrow in his arms and he kind of shrugged him off, shrugged off another guy, and then all of a sudden he throws for a first down or he runs for a first down. Those were back-breaking plays in a game like that where you need your guys to make a play. In this game, not only did they get home to the quarterback, they made the play, they forced the fumble, they forced the interceptions, and then all of a sudden now quarterback, his clock is sped up. Now he's throwing sometimes before he wants to. Maybe he's a little less accurate. You have the tip balls and you got Hufanga in the spot to reap the benefits of that. So in my opinion, when we look at this game and you see the 49ers won 34-3, I would say that the defensive line getting those sacks had a huge hand in that. And definitely Nick Bosa with how just getting to the quarterback and finally finishing. So I think Nick Bosa really was the key. Your superstar player that you need to make plays. 'Cause I've been talking about him and all the other guys, right? Like it's like, hey, Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, all these other guys. You don't think they're getting double teamed? You don't think they're getting chipped? You don't think that there's extra attention towards them, but they're still figuring out how to make these game-altering plays. And Nick Bosa, who was great last year, I think he covered up a lot of deficiencies with the pass rush.
Yeah.
This year we needed him to kind of do that, and it's like, man, I'm there, I'm winning, I'm playing very well, but man, I need you to finish. And in this game, he finished. Now you're getting teams off the field. Now you're getting these stops. Now you're putting them behind. And it was a snowball effect from there. So you asked me what the biggest difference was. I think it was really Nick Bosa. And maybe I'm not trying to belittle Chase Young or Chris or Steve Wilkes and his game plan. But for me, it really was going to come down to your best player making plays. And he did that.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Like if people are talking about like the Bengals, they're going to talk about, okay, how did Joe Burrow pay? Because that's where their money and resources are going to. So the team is going to go as Joe Burrow goes. Well, in the 49ers, just instead of allocating those resources to a quarterback, it's Nick Bosa. So I think that makes sense that the team would kind of go as Bosa goes. If Bosa's performing well, the 49ers are probably going to perform well. That's what they're paying him to do. And that's why no matter what, if you're getting 7 guys on you, you need to figure out how to make a play, because that's why they're paying you quarterback money. But it's good that they made that happen. I do think like John Lynch deserves some credit for bringing in Chase Young, because if that is, I know a couple times Jaguars put 2 guys on Chase Young, and that gave Bosa a one-on-one, which in my opinion may be bad decision by the Jaguars, but clearly let Nick Bosa and even, I mean, that, what was the one? I think they both got like half credit for half a sack,
Yeah.
where yeah, so I don't know. That was really exciting to see. Also, just like the energy shift. I don't know if you watch him, but Baldy's breakdowns on Twitter, he actually covered a play by Fred Warner, and Fred Warner didn't even make the play, but the energy that he had, he like was going this way with a guy, and then the guy made a move. He jumps in front of the ball, gets his hands like pretty much on the ball, and knocks it away, but the receiver's able to grab it still. Right, like less than a second later, Dre Greenlaw hits him and tackles him. But Fred Warner just like jumps up, and he's so angry that he's like didn't make the play. And I'm wondering, like, from your perspective, is that sort of energy, because you saw that on like every level of this defense and on this offense. But since we're talking about the defense, you saw that on every level of this defense yesterday, where like it just felt like they were faster, stronger. Is that solely because they were able to have a rest? And how do they keep that momentum every game? Because I think they all came out in the press conferences, and they all admitted that they knew the importance of this win. So like, do you think that the last 2 drop-offs, it's inevitable that maybe there's going to be like a mental lull throughout a season? Do you think it's possible for them to keep that same intensity? We saw them do it last year, kind of go on a run, but can they do that all the way to the Super Bowl? Because that's the one thing, if they don't get that first seed, is that they won't have a bye week to kind of like reinitiate that willpower that they did for today.
I think the energy that we saw them feeding off of comes with just having success, right? I coach high school football, Edison High School in Stockton,
Did they
California.
win?
I'm deep.
You told me they were going to go against a good team last week.
They went to a good and we lost, right? Now, the way we lost, and we talk about the energy, right? It was a team we just could not stop the run, and it was demoralizing, right? Like, I mean, just boom, boom. Now we could compete with them athlete for athlete. I think we got some of the best athletes in this entire area.
Yeah.
And we put that on display. I mean, it was a really good game. It came down to the end of the game.
You were undefeated until then, right?
We were on an 8-game win streak. Perfect. So we were hot. We were playing good football. Athletes making plays all over. Quarterback broke the school record for touchdown passes. I think he threw 35. He made some big plays. Our running backs, our receivers, everybody. But we could not stop the run. So on offense, we drive down, we'd score, boom. But then defense, man, they would just 8-yard run, 8-yard run, 8-yard run, 12-yard run, 8-yard run. It was just demoralizing. And I saw it on my players' faces. So when you talk about we gave up 325 rushing yards to one player, a running back at Central Catholic, 325. And it was just 10 yards, 8 yards, 12 yards, 6 yards, 7 yards. I mean, just couldn't stop. We ran 22 total plays on the offense, and 12 of them were for first downs or touchdowns. Like that's how, it was tough. Anyways, I don't even want to get into that. But anyway, I saw the energy and I saw the looks on my players' faces when we would call timeout, and I'm looking at them. I'm like, man, y'all playing like some hoes, right? Like y'all letting these dudes push you around, like, whatever. But I'm looking at their faces and you just see them down. And I think that was the 49ers last couple of weeks where, you're just against the pass. It's just, man, he's shrugging guys off. He throws, he completes it. We're missing these sacks and the throw they complete it. And it can be demoralizing. It can almost feel like, God damn, like, what do I have to do to get a stop? What do I have to do to get off the field? And I think when you play a game like this and you talk about that energy, you start to see like, oh man, we're getting to the quarterback, getting sacks. Oh, we'll break up a pass. Travarius Ward breaks up a throw in the end zone on the slot fade. Like you start to kind of get your swagger back, your confidence back. So I think a lot of that comes from just making plays. And then you see that intensity from Fred Warner, who I think is really kind of the emotional leader of the 49ers. Once he kind of gets going, you start to see everybody else kind of buy into it as well. So I think a lot of it had to do with just once you start to have kind of like that success and you see that, especially after doing bad, you definitely start to see a little bit more energy within the team.
I like that a lot. Moving to the offensive side of the ball, what did you think was the biggest change for the 49ers? Was it just having Trent Williams back? Was it Kyle Shanahan choosing to distribute the football to other guys besides Christian McCaffrey? How did you feel like the offense helped the defense out? Because to me, it seemed like they worked in tandem. In tandem? I don't know if that's how you say that word, but that's what you've been talking about for the last couple of weeks, right? And you're right. I think when the 49ers play like this, they look unstoppable. The issue is what happens if you play a game from behind and you can't play like this. But just in analyzing yesterday's game, it felt like the offensive side of the ball kept up as much as the defense did. So what kind of stuck out to you? What was fun about it? Because I felt like the offense was fun to watch yesterday. In my opinion, a little bit more fun to watch than when Kyle Shanahan gets in his like, I'm only going to ride the hot hand modes. I kind of think it's nice when everyone is touching the ball.
One thing was very interesting. If you look at the 49ers box score, who do you think had the most yards? Receiving.
Receiving?
Yeah.
Brandon Ayuk?
Nope.
No. Is it
George Kittle? All right, so George Kittle.
Okay.
He had 116 yards receiving. Who do you think
like
was
4
second?
targets, right?
4 targets. Yeah, I'm gonna get to that.
Why does yeah, go ahead.
Hold on. I'm gonna get to that. Okay. Who do you think was second in yards for the 49ers?
Well, I just said Brandon Ayuk, so I'd probably still say that.
Brandon Ayuk. He had 55 yards. Who do you think was third?
I want to say Chris McCaffrey because they got him involved in the passing game.
Christian McCaffrey. All right. So you had George Kittle who had 116 yards. You had Brandon Ayuk who had 55 yards. You had Christian McCaffrey who had 47 yards. Now, let's look at how they got those yards. All right. And this continue again. I don't want to be Debbie Downer. I'm just pointing out something because I'm seeing a trend and I don't quite understand it. Maybe everybody in the chat can help me understand this. George Kittle caught 3 passes on 4 targets for 116 yards. Brandon Ayuk caught 3 passes for 55 yards on 3 targets. So 3 passes, 3 targets, 1 touchdown, 55 yards, 18 yards per catch.
I know.
Christian McCaffrey, 6 receptions on 10 targets, 47 yards. Like, and I'm not saying don't utilize Christian McCaffrey. Definitely utilize him. But I put this out on Twitter, and I get pushback from people. It's like, I don't understand the usage of George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk. Like, these dudes, the more you would think, and maybe I'm wrong, but the more you give these guys opportunities, the more they make amazing plays. They are terrific. They are really kind of elite ability type guys. Like George Kittle is a one of one in the sense of just all that he's able to do. So why is it that a guy goes games where he's only getting 2 targets, 1 target? Even in this Dallas Cowboy game, he had 4 targets, 3 catches, 3 touchdowns, only 4 targets, right? You look at this game, 4 targets, and he had 116 yards. Like, I just want to know, Kyle, what would it look like if he just consistently got, all those passes you're throwing in Christian McCaffrey 10, and some of them they were trying to get him in the end zone, but all these passes you throw to CMC, who he is terrific. What would it look like if we gave George Kittle that many opportunities? Like, what would it look like if we gave him just no matter what, every game, George Kittle is going to get 8 to 10 targets. What would that look like? I think it would look crazy. Like, I think it would look crazy in the sense of helping his team. We look at, talking about some of these losses. I look at the Cleveland game. CMC got hurt. Deebo Samuel got hurt. George Kittle, 2 targets on the game. Like, how does that even make sense? The more you get him involved, the more you get the ball in his hands. He's a baller. So I see one message here from our guy Jay Boogie 510. Shout out to my guy Jay Boogie. He says the ball is going to the open player. Well, here's the thing: was George Kittle open on that 66-yard touchdown?
Yeah.
Was he open? No. I didn't think he was open.
He had to take a chance.
He is a playmaker, and he turned a play where I'm not open. You target me anyways. I catch it and score on 66 yards. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, like, give these guys more opportunities because they do things like that. Like it's ridiculous to me. You go a game, and maybe because the game got out of hand or whatever, but Brandon Ayuk getting 3 targets. Like, to me, that's ridiculous. And I'm not worried. Like, I'm not talking about this or being upset about because I don't want people, Crock, you complaining, blah, blah, blah. Like, no, I don't care about this Jaguar, all that. I'm focused on, and maybe this is just the coach in me. These are things, these games like this, man, you fine tune. I am focused on what is it going to take to win a Super Bowl. Like, that's what I'm focused on. It ain't just this game or the last game or whatever. What is it going to take to win a Super Bowl? And I think getting your guys more involved, George Kittle consistently more involved, Brandon Ayuk more consistently involved, Deebo Samuel, the more you get those guys involved, the more you have opportunities for them to do some freakish stuff because that's what they always do when they have the ball, but they're not getting the target. So to me, it's just a little weird. I could be just complaining. I'm not being Debbie Downer, but to be honest with everybody, I don't care about the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's a good win for the Niners. Cool. My eyes are set on, in a few weeks, you got Philadelphia Eagles. Yeah. Like, my eyes are set on them.
And that's what Kyle Shanahan should be doing too, right? Like, I think some fans or just people in general think that you only learn from the losses, but it's really important and exciting when you can have a win and still learn. So, yeah, I feel like there should be some rule in Kyle Shanahan's head where, like, he's not allowed to have a game for the rest of the year that George Kittle gets less than 4 targets or Brandon Ayuk gets less than 4 targets. And I feel like that's generous because I think that they should have like 8 to 10 targets. Because if look at how dominant they were yesterday, imagine if they had even more targets, and imagine if they did that every game. Like, they might not have lost those other 2 games. They might not lose in the future when they're playing the Eagles or the Chiefs if you're throwing up balls and giving Brandon Ayuk or George Kittle opportunities. And we've seen, unlike previous quarterbacks that the 49ers have had, we've seen that Brock Purdy is willing to kind of give his guys a chance to make a play. But you would just hope that they would call more passes for that. We also, when, talking about the guy being open, we've seen Kyle Shanahan scheme guys open. Literally, Deebo Samuel is one of the most wide open receivers all the time. And no offense to Deebo, he's my favorite. He's legitimately my favorite player on the team. So this isn't me like crushing him, but he's not an excellent route runner. He's not getting open because of his route running. He's getting open because of the way that Kyle Shanahan is scheming him open and calling plays for him. So he can absolutely do that for George Kittle too. And we've seen him do it for Kittle. We just don't see him consistently do it for Kittle.
Right. Shout out to my guy JM617. He's in chat. He says, see what I mean? Y'all arrogantly are focusing on February football as if it's a lot that this team will be there.
I think
it's not a lot that they'll be there in February, because when you're talking about February, we're talking about conference championship game and Super Bowl, right? It is not a lot, but it is a lot. In JM617, I'll bet you any amount of money you want to bet. The 49ers will be in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I bet you whatever you want to bet right now, I will bet you right now, live, and everybody, my word is bond. I'll bet you whatever 49ers will be
If
in the
Nick
playoffs.
Bosa breaks his leg next game, all you guys come back and give it credit.
Barring any type of crazy injury, of
I know.
course, right? But like, you relative, you got your squad, like 49ers are going to be in the playoffs. So my thing is, all right, you get into the playoffs. What is it gonna take for the 49ers to get over that hump and win it all? Like that's my thing, right? So, okay, example. Again, I coach high school football. We know we're gonna run through the 209. A lot of these teams here, we got we got St. Mary's. They're really competitive. We play them next year. Lincoln, very competitive. We'll play them next year as well. But for the most part, like we know we're gonna steamroll through a lot of teams. So in even first round playoffs, we're probably gonna steamroll through teams. Our whole thing is like, man, once you get to the second round, you got to play Folsom, you got to play Central Catholic, right? Like these big powerhouse schools. And how are we going to beat those teams? So everything we're talking about right now as a staff, we meet today at 4:00. It's not about playing McNair High School or Chavez or whatever else around Tokay or Lodi. Like it's not about them. How are we going to beat Central Catholic? How are we going to beat St. Mary's? Like, what do we have to do to beat those teams? Folsom, what do we have to do? Like, that's where our conversation is. So when I'm talking about the 49ers, like, that's my thought. Like, we know this team has been to 3 straight NFC championship games. We know they're good. We know they're going to be in the postseason. You know what I'm saying? But, like, they're not winning it all. So how do you win it all? Like, what is it going to take? And in my opinion, it's not about the stats. It's about giving your playmakers opportunities that are game changers, and figuring out different ways to incorporate that into your game plan to where it's a big part of it. Like, I think George Kittle should be there should never be a game he goes and gets 2 targets, 3 targets. Because the more opportunities he has, he is going to like do things like we just saw,
Like
66-yard touchdown. Like that's
disappoint
there.
when giving the opportunity. That's what's kind of frustrating is like he's never, once again, knock on wood, but he's never been in a situation where he's disappointed when given the opportunity to show his skills in the receiving section. So
We got James said, he says it was doom and gloom. Doom and gloom for who? Like it was maybe a lot of fans were down or whatever. I wasn't. My whole thing was like, all right, defense didn't play well. Those are games I felt like, hey, I wanted to see the offense kind of pick it up for them because again, I'm looking at the postseason. But in the sense of like lose, like we don't see the 49ers go through this. We saw them 3-5, and next thing you know, they win. I don't know how many straight games in the championship. Last year we saw it. Like they didn't start off great. They had some injuries, whatever their record was. Then they win 12 straight games, whatever it was. Like I wasn't doom and gloom. It was just, hey, you guys got, hey, figure this out.
I think from a player's perspective, like when I was listening to Fred Warner's podcast, not their first loss. Like I don't think they took that one hard against the Browns, but I think after the Vikings and then going in and getting their ass handed to them in the Bengals, I think that you saw some disappointment, frustration, maybe a little bit of anger, but definitely not positive feelings. And I think if they would have lost this game, I don't know if it would have been the same as it was in 2021, where they were able to kind of turn around their morale. It did feel, and maybe this was a media thing or a fan thing, but it did feel like they were kind of hanging on a thread, and that if hey, we've been through this before and we're going to push past it and be able to come out, it felt like they needed this win. It felt like if Jacksonville as a team, AFC, young, yeah, they're kind of feisty, but they're not that important. The game itself, the team itself, not the most important. This win, from a mental shift and from the okay, it's on, this season's on, we're about to go on a run. It felt necessary. It felt like a necessary win. Trent Williams talked about that. I found it interesting how candidly the players kind of talked about really feeling like this win was, or that game and getting a win was so important.
Oh
Like
yeah,
Trent Williams
you
talked about,
100%. You needed this
yeah,
win because it wasn't. And again, I talk about like Jacksonville, whatever, but no, this was I don't want to say a must-win game, but you couldn't
felt
lose
like
3
it.
straight, go into the bye week, come out, lose again on the road. It was a possibility, but that would not have, as far as the vibes and hitting the panic button, that would have been That would have been a big.
I know we have to close soon, but do you feel like they're back? Because like in the same way that if it was a loss, it would have felt so doom and gloom, as that commentator said. I feel like I feel like the way that they performed, it felt like those last games didn't happen. It felt like this is the same exact team that we saw in the beginning of the season. Do you feel like they're back? And that doesn't mean do you feel like they'll win the Super Bowl, because the team at the beginning of the season still hadn't proved that they were able to come back from behind and stuff like that. But we did have more confidence in their ability to be Super Bowl contenders, at least. So do you feel as confident about them today as you did before the losing streak?
Yeah. I feel like when they were 5-0, you're coming off a big victory against Dallas. You kind of are on your high horse. I felt like the Cleveland game was a weird game, and I know those type of losses happen. Right now, I was saying like you kind of can't lose that game. You're playing against PJ Walker. It's kind of crazy, but that was at least understandable. The next two losses were kind of like, all right, y'all got to figure this out. But I never felt like they couldn't figure it out. Like I never felt like the win against Jacksonville, that wasn't like oh thank God. It was like, okay, like there you go. You're back to your style, like how you play, how you win. And even their losses, like not like 49ers got blown out. Everything, it was always a one score game. Like they were always, well, the Bengals ended up being a multi-score game, but they were within striking distance for that entire game, right? Like, and the matter of fact, they were up in that game. So it never felt like, oh, I'm watching a bad team. Because I watch a lot of football, and you watch these other teams, you see bad teams. You'll see teams that don't have a chance. You see teams that shouldn't be on the field with other teams. Like, when I watch 49ers, like, that's not what I see. I just saw a team where it's like, all right, hey, you need big dogs to make some plays. And I think we saw that yesterday that they made their plays. And I think it really helps to have guys back like Trent Williams. Shout out to my guy Chris in the chat, or Trent Williams.
Ross.
All right, but shout out to my guy Chris in the chat. And I think Trent Williams, watching him get out in front of guys on screens, on reverses, lead blocking, 15, 20 yards downfield, imposing his will on these little DBs that are back there.
31, the viral clip of the guy like literally running away from Trent?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, so, you kind of see that, and it's like, okay, like those are things that excite me. We got Antonio Seabrook in the chat. He says, what I hate is the excessive use of CMC and yummy complete absence of Mason. There is an excessive use of CMC. I think there was one game where he took 100% of the snaps. I wouldn't use him that way, but from Kyle Shanahan's standpoint, I understand it. You have a player that hey, he's in there. He understands everything that he needs to do. He's not going to blow assignments. He's going to execute at a very high level because he prepares that way. And Kyle's just like, I'm just going to ride that, and I understand that, but also the other side of it is just like, oh, please don't get hurt, right? You already had the kind of the oblique injury or whatever it was. You want to keep him healthy and keep him on the field, but I understand the excessive use of it. It was good to see Elijah Mitchell get some carries yesterday, and I thought he looked good. And they put him in early, kind of earlier in the game, and then he also came through a little late as well. So
Can I ask you?
It was good to see that.
Can I ask you, because I feel like you have a good perspective of this because you're a player. I feel like there was like two sides of the coin, and I could see both sides at the end when Christian McCaffrey needed his touchdown in order to break Lenny Moore's record. Did you think I understand the side of you need to pull him because you guys are up by multiple touchdowns and most of your starters are out. So you need him to not be in the game, because if he breaks the touchdown record but breaks his leg, your season is screwed and everyone's going to crush Kyle Shanahan and it's not going to be worth it. But then on the other side, I also think there is something maybe team and player wise, like when the camera would show the rest of the team, like everyone wanted him to get it. And there is, I feel like, some sort of I don't know if it's like gratitude. I don't know how you would explain it, but I feel like there's something that players like about Kyle, that he's like willing to try to get his guys those records and do that. Like what how did you feel? Did you feel like, hey, he needs to be taken out of the game, it's bad that he's in there? Or did you think, no, it's pretty cool that they're trying to get him this record?
Okay, so I'll give you kind of the politically correct answer, then I'll kind of give you my like overall perspective on it.
Yeah.
But I think it is cool that you kind of go out of your way to try to keep this thing going. I would say if it's a one game thing, maybe, but like man, this is a streak that's been going on over what 17 games, and he has an opportunity to break something that has been standing throughout the entire history of the NFL. So from that standpoint, I think heck yeah, man, like you got to go for that. You got to go for that. Now, the opposing team, and this is me, I've been really big on if you don't want to see somebody celebrate, like don't let them score. If you don't, that's why I hate the whole like taunting thing and they be throwing
Yeah.
flags. And it started back with like Chad Ochocinco. He was very, really celebrating and using props. Like I loved it. But if you don't want to see him do that against your team, don't let him score,
Yeah.
right? So I'm pretty sure that the Jaguars, they understood what was going on. They understood what Christian McCaffrey had on the line, and it's a part of the game. It's a part of the sport. Hey, just not against us. And if there's anything that they probably took pride in from that game, they might throw that film away and never watch it again. But they'll always take pride in at least when they tried. The 49ers tried everything possible to get Christian McCaffrey that touchdown. We stopped his ass. So
Yeah.
I bet they took some pride in being able to do that. And that was kind of a moral victory, even though there really aren't moral victories.
But you didn't judge Kyle Shanahan for leaving him in there and trying to go for it?
Nah, man, you gotta, you know what I'm saying? Hey, that again, that's a once in a lifetime opportunity to have something like that. So I don't fault him at all. Again, we'll talk about his usage and all that, but like that part, like I understand. I understand, trying to give him that record.
Yeah. I thought it was cool too. But
Yeah. All right, let's see. Do we got anything else in here? Gammon says, "Who else went streaking last night?" Sorry, Gammon, I couldn't join in on that one. I didn't know people were streaking, but I don't want to see all that. So no streaking over here in the Crocky household. I don't know about Ashley, but
Speaking either.
all right, no streaking, just twerking. I did see your videos on
There we go. There we go. I'm
on
trying to get a handstand. I used to be able to do handstands all the time, like in gymnastics, and then all of a sudden I don't got it anymore. I'm just like weak or something. I don't know.
you gotta go, do those pull ups. And I actually did some pull ups this morning, so you gotta get in on those pull ups.
There you go. It's like 8 a.m. and you've already done pull-ups. This is ridiculous.
Oh yeah,
If
yeah,
anyone
yeah.
wants
Got
to
it.
feel like they're not productive, gotta give Crocky a call.
Hey man, listen. There's always a time people always, oh, I got this going on. I got this going on. I have a lot of different things I have going on today. But the one thing I'm not going to do is, hey, I'm going to make sure that if there's things I need to do, knock it out early. And I knew I wanted to structure my day a certain way today. So I said, all right, if you're going to do that, you still got to get your lift in. And you want that. I always try to give myself a 2 hour window. But really, it probably takes me about an hour and a half or so, an hour, 15 minutes or whatever. But I give myself a 2 hour window. Wake up earlier. So 4:30 a.m. I was in the gym, and started my window a little earlier.
This was
But
me while you were doing that. I was just having a great, great slumber.
I was in there. All right,
But
appreciate
no, I
everybody
like
for
that.
tuning. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Appreciate everybody for tuning in today. Shout out to everybody. Hit that like button. Hit the subscribe button. Ashley, definitely thank you for joining us today. Can you let everybody know where they can find you?
Subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's at Ashley Ariana, just like my username. Trying to get to 2K. 2K is my next goal.
Where are you right now? Because the last time you were on here, we were trying to
Not
get you to
close
a
to 2K.
thousand, and we got you over a
I
thousand.
we did do that. We did do that. I'm not close. I'm not that close to 2K yet, but I feel like it's a good goal.
Where
By
are you
what's
on the
it's
watch
November by
hours?
Christmas. I know. That's why do those suck so much more? I'm only at like 1.7 or something, and I think you have to have 4K.
It'll come fast, boss.
Yeah.
But it'll come fast.
Sick.
The more videos you make, people kind of rewatch stuff and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
next thing you know, the more subscribers you have, it just starts really jumping up. So I'd say within the next month, you'll have that 4,000 watch hours.
That's my goal is to try to and not like from a monetary way, but I just think it would be like fun to set goals for yourself. My goal is by my birthday, which is January 8th, to be monetized.
Oh
But
yeah.
hopefully I'll
All
be
right.
monetized even before then. That's my goal. So everyone go subscribe and watch.
Everybody that's in
Anyway,
here
have a
right
great
now, go
day.
subscribe, go
Bye.
watch her videos, go watch every single one of them, and help her get that monetization.
Thank you. Thank you.
NBN Pineapple says make shorts.
I've my dancing videos are shorts, but I talk too much in my little videos. I think they can only be a minute. But I put shorter videos. I put them on YouTube just as normal clips, not shorts, and then I put them on like Twitter and TikTok. So make sure to follow me on all those places too.
All right, and that's gonna do it. We'll see y'all Wednesday when I have Coach Desi on here to
Whoop,
talk
whoop.
about the lack of injuries from the 49ers Jaguars game. Until then, I'll see y'all next time. Peace.
Bye.